Utah State is not a school that produces a ton of NFL players, but when they do, it seems like they get taken pretty highly. Jordan Love is a player that comes to mind immediately and was really the last notable player taken from Utah State. But this year there is another player who is one of my favorite prospects in the entire draft class. A wide receiver, Jalen Royals, is a very, very good wide receiver prospect who doesn't feel like he is getting the respect that he deserves in this class. In a wide receiver class that has some really solid players at the top, how high could we see Royals get taken in the 2025 draft class? That is what we will be going over in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, where for $5 a month, you guys will get exclusive access to my in-depth draft guide and big board, with over 500 scouting reports and counting. There, you guys can find all the analytics and combine/pro day numbers that you guys need in order to be successful this draft cycle. Leave a comment on the video and let me know which prospects you guys would be interested in seeing in the future. And without further ado, let's take a closer look at Jalen Royals. Royals really burst onto the scene with an outstanding 2023 season. He was targeted 99 times for the Aggies and had 70 receptions for 1,084 yards and 15 touchdowns. He was absolutely incredible and was a player who I was super excited to watch in 2024. Unfortunately, a foot injury caused him to sit out for most of the year, but he did play in the first 7 games. In those games, he was targeted 81 times for 55 receptions, 839 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which are pretty remarkable numbers in that short a time period. He is going to be a fan favorite throughout this draft cycle. Many people fell in love with Ladd McConkey during last year's draft for the simple fact that he was an absolutely elite separator and route runner, and I think Royals is cut from the same cloth. He is a sharp and precise route runner who breaks in and out of his routes incredibly quickly and does a really good job of finding soft spots in zone coverage in order to get open. He knows how to combine moves, stop and go on a dime, and force defenders to bite, and he's got some really good quickness when breaking in and out. Royals also shows very good deep speed. He has a quick first step off the line of scrimmage, which I love to see, but he can absolutely fly past defensive backs, which I love. Royals is rumored to run a 4.3 40, which wouldn't shock me at all. He has great ball tracking abilities deep down the field and is a very reliable deep ball threat. Royals also has very reliable hands for the wide receiver position. If a ball is thrown his way, more likely than not, Royals was going to come down with the catch. He has 9 career drops on 184 career targets, which are really solid numbers all things considered, and I love to see that. He's got the size, he's got the speed, and he's got the ability to get open and make big time plays, and those are all tools that are going to translate well to the NFL level. However, there are 2 concerns that I have with Royals that could potentially cause him to slide down the board. For one, he is coming off a foot injury that sidelined him for most of 2024. We mentioned it earlier, but for a player that is so reliant on his quickness and athleticism, I'm going to be very curious to see how his foot holds up and if that causes him problems later down the road, because he could be a big-time player if the foot injury is not a big deal. I'm also worried about his overall physicality and motor. I don't ever want to be one to question whether or not a player is giving it 100%, but there are a lot of plays where it feels like Royals is kind of disengaged or just taking the play off, particularly on blocking plays. He's not a very good blocker for a receiver, and that may hurt him, but it is the physicality at the catch point that worries me most. He doesn't do well in those situations, and he does have a harder time separating against press coverage. Throughout his career, Royals does have a decent contested catch percentage, but I'd like to see him do a better job of playing strong and being more physical at the catch point. Royals was my favorite tape study I did over the summer, and I stand by that today. He is an absolutely awesome prospect that I'm much higher on than the consensus seems to be. He's got speed. He's got reliable hands. Is one of the best route runners in the entire draft class, and is awesome if teams can get him involved in the open field on screens or bubble passes and things of that nature, because he is elite after the catch as well. He's my number 6 wide receiver in this class, and I know that's going to sound really high to people, but the tools are all there, and he is a dynamic player with the ball in his hands. He's my number 47 overall prospect in the draft class. In terms of a scheme fit, I do think Royals brings some solid versatility, but may best be suited in the slot. He's not the biggest, nor is he the most physical wide receiver in the world, and I think an offense can really help by getting him involved on screens or short crossers and getting him the ball in space. I think he can be a boundary guy and would have zero problems in the NFL. But if I was a head coach, I think I'd probably put Jalen Royals in the slot just to see what he could be in that role. My player comparison for Jalen Royals is Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Rice is a very similar player in terms of being a really good route runner, having reliable hands, and being an overall consistent separator. Rice is a bit bigger and maybe a little bit more physical, but I think Royals has a lot of similarities to what Rice had when coming out of SMU and can be used in a very similar type of way at the NFL level. Jalen Royals is slippery. He knows how to create separation and runs routes at a really high level. Those are tools that always translate well at the NFL level, and he is a dynamic playmaker, and ultimately, I believe that Jalen Royals will be a second-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.